I think when we were probably young lads, we had the trips and stuff. You'd get a bit homesick at times, wouldn't you? So
yeah, I got left out of a few because I was crying on the first one.
I'd say it was probably the best sort of place for our development. So many great memories, and I think the team that we grew up around has gone on to sort of be very successful. Being a part of sort of the Youth Cup team and winning that was an amazing sort of memory, and then going from sort of that development into the reserves and then pushing in and around the first team was a great experience. And I think being at Man United, it's always prided itself on sort of producing youngsters and seems to always have that sort of conveyor belt feeling. And yeah, I think when you're sort of part of a group and you can see lads all getting a taste of it and getting around the first team, it definitely gives you that hunger to push on and try to achieve that yourself.
Coming through United's academy, I think they're really good at making sure you're disciplined, making sure you do the right things from a young age. I think that was something that was always drilled into us from when we joined, when we were 10 years old, and no matter where you go in your football career after that, those good habits stay with you. Being at United was the best thing that could have ever happened to us, I think, for our football development, but also as people. I think it was the perfect place.
I mean, it was absolutely incredible. Being at the club which we'd always supported, and our whole family really were big sort of United fans who then
idolised a lot of them players, didn't we?
Yeah, sort of. I remember being at Carrington when they won the Champions League 2008. We sort of were there as fans watching them bring the trophy on the bus back to the training ground and stuff, and then that transition sort of being around them on a day-to-day basis, seeing Sir Alex Ferguson, and he walks past you in the corridor and he knows your name and he says good morning. Just those little things were such a big deal to us as young players, and I think just the buzz around the club at that time, and then like Mike said, players that we've idolised, seeing the sort of the standards that they have and that intensity that they trained at every day was just a great feeling. And yeah, I think if anything it just really spurred you on, and we saw how dedicated they were, and it made you even more desperate to carve out a career for ourselves, really.
I think for me, I was a bit different to Will. I didn't get a full-time scholarship. I only got part-time when I was 16 years old, so I was doing my A-levels and coming in to train in the evenings a couple nights a week. And it was probably when I was 17 that I thought I had a chance, because I'd finished college school for the year, so I had a few months off, so I could go in full-time and train with the lads. And it was at that point I'd really improved a lot and felt like I belonged in that team. And it was the pre-season of the year we won the Youth Cup, and I decided to quit school and basically come in full-time off my own back. It was a big decision, but at that point I felt like I was good enough to make myself a career in the game.
Yeah, for me, I think it was probably more of the standard sort of transition from going through the academy and then being offered a scholarship from sort of 16, having the 2 years there, and then I think when I was first offered a scholarship, I got offered professional terms. Like Mike touched on, his experience at that time was a little bit different, but I think seeing the way that the club worked with Mike so closely, and like he said, he was still doing his studies and then trying to give himself still the best opportunity, and seeing the way that the coaches took the time out to try and improve him. And I think you'd probably say he was a bit of a late developer, maybe physically, and the way that they sort of had that patience with him, he probably looks back now and thinks that was such a crucial part of his career, and the fact that they stuck with him has allowed him to sort of go on and progress the way that he has done. So that's all credit to the place where we were at the time.
I don't think you get that at every club as well. I think we were lucky to be, I was lucky to be at United in that sense, because I think when I was 16 at other clubs they might have just got rid of me thinking I'm not good enough, but United are the kind of club that are patient with the young players and give them a chance to develop physically. And
I think our first year as scholars as well, you ended up playing down quite a bit.
Yeah, so I should have been under 17s and I was playing for the under 16s, but that was more my physicality where I was at. But yeah, thankfully they stayed patient and gave me a chance.
I think our loan spells, both the experiences that we've had have been really beneficial. I think that sort of natural development especially at a club like Man United. There's only a few that are probably going to break straight into the first team, and for me, my first couple of loans sort of off the back of a long injury, and then having that opportunity, it was my first real taste of first team football and something that I was itching to do. And going into the Championship, you sort of realise, especially as a striker, you're coming up against seasoned pros, obviously a lot of experience, and that sort of physicality. It was probably a bit of an eye-opener, to be honest, and something that I feel like I've really sort of enjoyed.
I agree. I think going out on loan as a youngster is so important. I think the experience you get by just being in a first team changing room, learning off older professionals who have been in the game for so long is massive. The playing experience is another thing. I think it's completely different to playing reserve team football or youth team football. I think my first loan spell at Leicester was, well, I know it.
I remember, was it Bolton away?
Yeah, my first
Kevin
game.
Davis up top.
Bolton away, Kevin Davis up top, yeah. And I'd never played against a striker like that before in my life, so he was obviously a big lad, good in the air, and it was a great experience for me. I unfortunately got injured in that game, so ended up going back to United for a few weeks. But I remember that week at United there was Vidic and Rio with a centre halves pair in there, and I was injured on the bike, and Vidic was sat next to me and asked how I got on against Bolton, and I just said to him I didn't win a header against Kevin Davis. I thought I played quite well, but he was a big lad and I was only 18 and hardly won a header, so he just gave me a few tips, and I was lucky because I had another chance to go back to Leicester when I got fit and had a great run. But also in my time at United there, to have role models like Rio and Vidic and people like that who I can look up to and were there to help me was massive. So I think to learn a lot, I think the best thing you can do is go out on loan and play.
For us, it was kind of all we ever knew, so it was always probably any situation we probably felt slightly more comfortable with there being two of us. Maybe in certain scenarios when you're around new faces, doing it by yourself can be a little bit daunting at times, but it kind of maybe always felt like that little safety blanket. And I think when we were probably young lads, we had the trips and stuff, you'd get a bit homesick at times, wouldn't you? So
yeah, I got left out of a few because I was crying on the first one.
So yeah, we sort of tried to look after each other, and it was probably a little bit stranger when we actually started our loan spells and stuff, and as we got a bit older, when we had spells apart, that it was a bit strange really, wasn't it? Not being in the same team when we'd come all the way through sort of together.
We've always been the kind of people who are really supportive of each other. I think more so, and especially since we kind of went our separate ways. Like Will touched on there, when we started to go out on loan and when we ended up leaving United, going to different clubs, I think we've probably got more supportive and helpful towards each other than what we were when we were younger as well. So I think to do with our relationship, if anything, it's brought us closer.
I'd say as well, like obviously throughout the course of your career, you have so many highs and lows, and like for me personally, I've in the past had maybe a couple of long-term injuries, setbacks and stuff, and I think that probably at times taken its toll on you. We obviously want to support each other, and when we're both going through tough times, we both sort of feel that. And I'd say watching each other now, there's probably nothing, well for me personally, there's nothing more nerve-wracking than when I'm watching you, and I don't think that'll ever change. Probably I feel a lot more at ease when I'm playing than sat watching you in a match, just hoping that you do as well as possible. And I think maybe, especially growing up in different positions, there was never that kind of direct rivalry. It was just always being there for each other and hoping we both do as well as possible.
That was the first one, wasn't it? You were at QPR?
Yeah, I was at QPR, yeah. I was on loan there.
I was playing right back when I was on loan at Blackburn, and obviously Will was striker.
He was pleased you were out of the way of it.
A bit out of the way, but we won 2-0. So that was a good memory for me. And then when was what was the one after that?
Burnley Preston at Turf Moor.
That was a good one for you, wasn't it? Yeah.
Good day for me. We've got a few pictures still of me scoring, shooting through Mike's legs. So yeah, that was a fun day, but
it starts off on a good run though.
Fair, yeah.
We lost that day, and after that I think 23 games undefeated to win the league, so
got promoted, didn't you? So
I'll take it in the long run.
Yeah.
And then once in the Prem, the year after, Will at Hull and me at Burnley.
I was on the bench, I come on, didn't I?
You came on, yeah. And I was centre back and you were striker, so directly against each other in the Premier League, which was pretty cool. And we were winning, and you got a free kick last minute.
Snodgrass,
yeah, and scored.
Stepped up, yeah.
Drew 1-1. So overall, I've won one, he's won one, and we drew one.
When I was a young lad, I was first approached by England, so it just seemed to make sense at that time to play for the youth groups there. And then sort of as my career developed into senior football, I was approached by Mick McCarthy when I was playing for Ipswich. I think it was 2018, and he called me and said that he'd like me to declare for the national team. So it was something that I jumped at straight away. Our dad was born and raised in Ireland, so that's sort of where the roots come from. And he moved over to England when he was 10, but to get the opportunity to sort of represent him and the nation is something that gives me a great sense of pride. And every time I've been with them and played at the Aviva in front of all the Irish fans, it's always a special atmosphere and something that I'm really proud of.
I think for me personally, when I was 17, got approached by Ireland, and at the time I thought it would have been a great experience for me to go and play some international football. So that's what I did. I really enjoyed my time with Ireland, enjoyed the camps that I had there, and gained experience at that young age, which was valuable to me. And then as I got older, when I was 19, England approached me, and it was a tough decision that I had to make. It wasn't easy. Like Will said, my dad was born in Ireland, and I was obviously proud to represent them. But in the end, decided to change and play for England. We've just recently turned 30, so hopefully we've got a good amount of time left playing at the top level. I think longer term than that, I've recently this season done nearly finished my B licence coaching course, so I've been focusing on that as well. And that's something that I could potentially go down that route in the future. I think when I was young, Paul McGuinness at Man United was brilliant with me, and I've always thought it'd be good for me to maybe do something like that myself in the future and give to young players what Paul gave to me. So that's why I'm thinking of it maybe. Don't know about you.
For me personally, I had quite a few injuries at the start of my career, probably the best part of 2 or 3 seasons. So I'm hoping those years I'll hopefully get sort of added on to the latter stage of my career. So hopefully, plenty of years left in me, and my last couple of seasons have probably been my best in terms of keeping fit, scoring goals. So that's something that I definitely want to build on, and hopefully the best is still yet to come in that aspect. And then beyond that, I think Mike said, I've also started my coaching badges, and maybe that's something we'd look to do together at some point. I'm not sure who'd be the manager and who'd be the coach. Maybe shared roles, but I think that's something that I've always been interested in. And a bit more experience, you start to take it in a little bit more and understand the way managers operate and maybe tactically different things and stuff. So something that definitely interests me, and love being on the grass, being in training, being involved in it. So hopefully something long term I can keep going.